Yeah, and so you can mitigate. So number one, don't feel stressed about being healthy. Just kind of know that first month to 2 months is the hardest. If you're coming in to, this new healthy lifestyle and habits with a lot of symptoms, don't worry about cheating. Put your focus on developing habits, right? Many people, they go into this place in their head of like, oh my God, like I'm not going to ever be able to eat this again. It's like a divorce. It's like a breakup. It's like they're literally grieving the loss of this food they'll never eat again. Don't go into it like that. Go into it with the mindset of, hey, I am going to focus on eating nutrient dense, anti-inflammatory, low toxin food so I can decrease inflammation in my body, accelerate healing, and feel awesome. And then once you're at a good level where you've kind of plateaued, and you work through some of the programs that we're on with hormones and gut and your digestion's better, then we can start adding foods back in. And we're always going to choose the healthiest treat options and the healthiest foods first. And then if your optimal health stays at that great level, then we can, if you want to go off the beaten path here or there, 80-20, 90-10, 95-5, and you're able to maintain your benefits and it doesn't take you too long to get back on track, that's fine. There's a book out there called The 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss. And Tim Ferriss talks about a cheat day, eating whatever you want for a whole day. That is, I'm sorry, for most people, it's a terrible idea because they go have a cheat day on Sunday and they're so inflamed, it takes till Thursday the next week to get back into homeostasis. That's a problem. And so, all
Let
right,
me
maybe
interject.
Go ahead.
Let me interject because I think that you may even be underplaying how bad of an idea that is, because you and I've seen, just by looking at thousands of people on test results, we've seen, gluten antibodies and other antibodies go up for potentially months after certain exposures like that. So you're mentioning possibly a week to reset. It could even be months.
If you have an active autoimmune thyroid issue or active autoimmune issue, it could be. Now, you can get your thyroid looked at. You could always do an Array 5 by Cyrex to look at other silent antibodies. It could be there. But if your health is great and you feel great and you can kind of get back on track the next day, all right, fine. But try to always choose a grain-free option for most of your stuff, at least gluten-free for most of it. But yeah, so my whole thing is, how do you know something's worth it? You should be able to get back on track that next day. If you're not back on track the next day, that's a problem. Now, Evan, you already alluded to, well, what if those antibodies popped up and we don't know about it? So if you have an active thyroid or autoimmune issue, you really want to be testing those antibodies or that ANA or those autoimmune markers. If you have lupus or Sjogren's or something kind of under the surface, I would say really choose the healthiest cheat possible. It's just not worth it when tissue's being destroyed.
Yeah. Well said. And, for me, we like to leverage the lab testing and show, like, look how good you've done. Look, we've got your dopamine back to normal. You mentioned neurotransmitters early on. Look, we've got serotonin normalized. Now, doesn't that feel good? Look at your calprotectin in your gut. We've got your inflammation down 1,000 points. Look at your secretory IgA. That's starting to come back up because you're removing the foods irritating the gut. Look at some of these infections we've cleared out because you're not using the sugar to feed the candida and to feed the other pathogens. So when we use the functional medicine testing plus just kind of our pep talks and motivation we give to people, it's a really good 1-2 punch that keeps people on a sustainable path forever. And it really is a lifestyle. We talk about, oh, this is a lifestyle. It's easy to embrace once you feel good. So I agree with you. You got to focus on, hey, do you want to feel amazing? And then some people will ask the same thing with supplements, right? They'll ask the same question about diet as they do supplements. How long do I have to do this on their diet? And I'm like, well, and this is I always punch back with this. Well, do you want to survive or do you want to thrive? Well, obviously I want to thrive. Okay, well then do it forever. Like, oh, okay, that was easy. So for me, that's the default answer. Like when somebody's like, well, how long do I need to dial in my diet? I mean, as long as you want to feel amazing is the answer.
Yeah, I tell patients out of the gates, you may have to be more puritanical because you're trying to make up for lost time. It's kind of like if you're in debt from decades of poor spending habits. Well, we're going to have to kind of get you on a really lean budget, and you're going to have to be investing and saving a large percent of what you make. Now, as you get on top of that and you're debt free and you're feeling great, and now you're making investments and now you're on your way to financial freedom, you can be a little bit more loosey goosey with your spending, right? It's kind of the same thing with your health. Just change the money equation to health, and it's the exact same thing. And so we always try to look at getting momentum, getting you on top of your health, reaching the level of conscious competence to unconscious competence where it's automatic. because the stress that people feel in that first month or two is just the fact they haven't made a habit yet. And so if you want to live a healthy lifestyle, you have to let your brain and your physiology shift into unconscious competence. If you're quitting before you get there, you're doing yourself a disservice, because the amount of energy, if you're thinking, well, it takes me too much energy to do these things, it's because you're not in unconscious competence yet, and you will be there. Just give it a little more time. People project their energy is going to be on this conscious competence wavelength the whole life, meaning the amount of energy they have to focus and project will be at that level, but it won't. It'll get easier once you make that shift to unconscious competence.
Totally.